Hey, this is Flo and welcome back to Advent of Packages. In this episode we will have a look at SPPermissions, a little UI helper library that you can use to request specific permissions from your user, like accessing the photo library, scheduling notifications, accessing the user's location, and things like that. This library is actually pretty large and it works for both UIKit and SwiftUI. It's actually a bit simpler to use in UIKit, but I will also show you how to use it in SwiftUI. There are basically three different types of controllers that you can present. So if we scroll up a bit here, then you can see the first list style controller and the dialog style controller. And if we scroll down here, then there's also the native style controller. We will have a look at the dialog style controller today. So let's jump right into Xcode. And other than in the previous episodes of Advent of Packages, I have not yet added the package because there's a very important thing to note. So if you click Add Package, then you need to actually select all of the package products that you want, which are basically all of the permissions that your app wants to ask the user for. So for our example, we will say we want to have the camera permission and we also want to have the notification permission. But if you want to ask for different permissions, then you also need to add the different package products to your app. Okay, so camera notification, it is for us. So let's hit Add Package. Then we can close the project here and go back into our actual content view. So same as just a second ago, we actually need to import all three of these package products. So we need to import SPPermissions, then permissions camera, and also permissions notification. And then we need to construct an array of all of the permissions that we want to ask for. So let's say let permissions, this is of type SPPermissions.permission, and this is just an array with camera and notification in our case. The great thing here is since all of these are split up into their different package products, you can only select the ones that you're actually going to use. So this is pretty straightforward. And then let's replace this text over here with a button that says show permissions, just like I actually already have it running in the simulator from my tests beforehand. Let's go right back into GitHub and see how all of this works. So basically we need to create a controller here, either using the list, dialog, or native controller. We need to pass in the permissions that we want to ask for into that controller, and then we need to present that controller on the current UI view controller. Now this is the part that's a bit, not really hard, but a bit annoying in SwiftUI compared to UIKit. Let's get right back into Xcode. So let's say that controller equals SPPermissions.dialog is the one that we will try out, and then we just pass in our permissions array here. And now if we want to present that controller, you would say controller.present on self if you're an UIKit, but we first of all need to grab a view controller here. And for that I have copied over a handy little snippet that you can use. This Windows variable here is getting deprecated over time, so you might want to find an alternative for that, but for now it works just fine in all of the other suggestions like UI Windows scene.windows on a relevant Windows scene. It's even more complicated. So for now, for iOS 13, 14, 15, this works just great. And this way we can already run the app in the simulator and see how it looks. So we have our show permissions button here. And if we click it, then this little dialog box will pop up. The user can even drag it around with a nice little animation. And then there is basically one row and one button for each of the permissions that you want to ask for. You can customize all of this, and I will quickly tell you how you can customize the title text here and the footer text. So if we get back into GitHub, then you can basically do it like this. So you can just set the title text, the header text, and the footer text on your controller. And if you want to customize these specific cells here, so for example, if you want to have a different type of text here, in general something that's related to your app, like used to scan your barcodes or whatever your app might be about, then you can also do that by adopting the SPPermissions data source protocol, and then on your controller setting the data source to whatever is the data source. So for example, your view model, if you're in Swift UI, could be an idea. And then in that data source, you can implement the configure function and then set the title label and the description label and custom images and so on for all of these cells. Then you can just say, and I will just add this in here into the button. You will obviously need to find another place in your app. Then you can just check for the available permissions by saying SPPermissions.permission, then select the one that you care about. So for example, now I would care about camera. And then you can check the authorized status. This is just a boolean that gets updated depending on what the user selects after they tap on continue here. So you would say if camera is authorized, then do something with the camera. Okay, that's already it in this episode. I think this is a very handy way, and especially if you customize it to have your own data source and to say your own descriptions and so on, then this can be really useful and saves you a lot of time when working with some permission stuff. So yeah, that's it for this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. Subscribe, and bye.